G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's bloody good stories, and if you do, like the video, comment, subscribe if you haven't, with the bell notification so you don't miss an upload. And with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie. Let's get into it. Cheers. Am I the asshole for not pushing our wedding dress code on my brother? So I'm getting married in September, and I would like my brother to come, but he is particular. I've always suspected he was on the spectrum, but our parents never really believed in that stuff. I was talking with my partner, and I told her that I really want my brother to come, and not the chameleon brother. I want my brother, not the person that does what's needed to fit in. I don't want him to feel the need to mask who he is. She's not exactly keen on this because it's a wedding, and feels like he should do it for our sake. I told her he 100% would, but that is not the brother that I want with me on my big day. I want my brother, the one who was my rock after our dad passed when I was younger, the one who I played games with, the one who taught me to skateboard, etc. My partner thinks I'm a pushover with my brother. I let him slide so he can be comfortable. We have a no-shoe policy, but my brother has always been weird about his feet, so I always give it a pass, but she gets annoyed. We did not grow up taking off our shoes in the house, but I will clean after he leaves. But I get it, from a general perspective, all of this should be easy for someone, and it's not like he wouldn't comply or conform, but I notice when he finds himself in such situations, he's different. I remember one day while playing games, he told me he really does appreciate me because I'm one of the few people in his life that he feels comfortable being himself. That means a lot to me. And I don't want him to ever feel that he has to be someone else to take part or be in my life. My partner is trying to make this a hard line, and I'm on the fence. I know if I ask my brother to come in wedding attire, he 100% would. But in the same token, while it's my brother, I know at the core he would be very uncomfortable. He will most likely wear what he normally does, very casual wear. I told her that this really is my only ask out of the wedding. I get that it's her big day, but it's also mine. She feels like I'm slightly trying to make this about me, which I told her, that's funny. In the comments, Orenda Rues the Day says, "You've been very vague in your post, and seem to be making a lot of assumptions, including diagnosing your brother with autism. You need to be more clear and figure out the whys. Why does your brother feel uncomfortable, and what type of clothes? Get the specifics about how he feels and why, and then you can pinpoint exactly how to solve this situation. Can he really only be himself in plain clothes, or can something be fancier, but just in a specific material? If he shows up as the only person wearing plain clothes at the wedding, he'll stick out like a sore thumb. People will probably ask him why he's dressed like that. In my opinion, it would either make him or your wife uncomfortable. Similarly, with the show situation, you need to figure out why he's being weird about his feet. Being weird is such a bad explanation because it's just letting things be. This is why your wife is probably saying that you baby him. Figuring out why he does something would truly be understanding him, and I'm sure he'd appreciate that even more. Maybe he doesn't like his feet touching the floor or just doesn't want to show his feet. Like others said, you can get him his own indoor shoes. Maybe he's scared of his feet smelling. Powders or breathable socks would help. For now, I will say you're the asshole. Because although it seems like you care about your brother, you do baby him. Understanding the reasoning behind some of his quirks will help you understand him and find solutions. OP replies, "My partner suspected, and even he has, but never got him tested, and at this point he's 36, and I feel like getting him diagnosed now may give answers, but it's not going to change anything. I can only go based off what he has told me. I'm doing my best to explain, but it's weird and I don't fully understand. It's not about the feel of the clothes, but what they represent. To him, when he's in work or formal attire, he feels like he has to become a different person to fit in, yet when he's in general attire, he doesn't care about the opinion of others. He's the one that has told me he hates being that person." Found in Wonderland replies, 36, not diagnosed with anything, not trying to find help finding safety and unmasking even in formal clothes, or learning coping techniques for whatever sensory issues are happening with bare feet, But your fiancée is supposed to continue to put his comfort over her own? Forever? Because he won't get diagnosed and seek therapy? I wouldn't be signing up for that, sorry. This is odd, because I also never let my feet touch the bare ground. I'm always afraid that I'll step on something that hurts. I think I got a splinter in my foot as a child, and then vowed never again or something like that. I have a hang-up about it too, but I wear house slippers at home. No assholes here, because I understand your brother, but also shouldn't just clean up after him. Why not just give him some house slippers? For your wedding too. Would he be okay in socks? OP says, I've tried that. The shoe thing is 100% a sensory or protection, but he gets weird. I even bought him the same sneaker, but still was kind of weird about it. Would hyper-focus on the shoes and feet. If my brother comes over, I want him in the moment and the now. We all have hardwood flooring, so cleaning after he leaves is not overall horrible. And now, on to the update. First, no, he is not a groomsman. He is not a part of any of the official stuff like that, just a few things, because stuff has gotten slightly out of hand in my opinion. First, we have tried slippers and covers, and sneakers of his choosing. Throughout the evening, he would zone out and hyper-focus on his feet and shoes, mumbling to himself like something is off. He was just off. Like I said, he's always been weird about his feet ever since we were children. This is a man who has always been extremely meticulous with his attire. Lol, he used to do his own laundry as a child because our mum could never get the clothes the way he wants. Don't even get me started with folding. I shared a room with this man for my entire childhood. Fun times. Secondly, I have asked him to get tested as an adult and even offered to cover the cost. I cannot force him to get tested. For him, he's always been this way his entire life, and a diagnosis will not change who he is. He will still be himself. He genuinely, when he wants to be, is very good at hiding it. When he's a social norm version of himself, no one is none the wiser. Moments he does crack, but for the most part, he can carry the illusion very well. As he told me, getting testing is not going to change anything. While I do agree that he is wrong, he thinks the ship sailed to get him the help that he needed many years ago. Also, a factor that if he gets tested and it's true, he would grow to resent our mum and possibly even me, because he was the older brother and he had a responsibility to step up after our dad died. It was not some overly traumatic event. Our dad was kind of useless anyways, and in certain ways it was more peaceful, but generally speaking, I know me being born made this hard. Our parents probably shouldn't have had kids, but they could have gotten by with one. 2 just broke them. I was younger, so it probably hit me even harder because he got to know the dad that I never got to know. The actual father figure. That's why I don't push therapy or getting tested. It's not my place to do so, and we all have our demons. If he's not willing to face them, who am I to say otherwise? I'm not a betting man, but after everything I've seen with him, I would bet everything I own that he's 100% on the spectrum. Lastly, as for the comments of me treating him like a child, I know. He would set himself ablaze for our mother or I. I don't like seeing him stuffy and out of place. He always will be my brother. And I know the comments about the brother that is on versus the brother that is not are different. 'Cause it was the best way I could explain it. They are vastly different people. He's told me how much he hates that he feels like he cannot be himself around others. He's a 36-year-old man that has no interest in dating, and his idea of a fun evening is being home playing old games. That is the self he wants to be. But he knows that that self cannot pay bills or hold down a job. He has to play the game for him to have those freedoms. I don't want him to ever feel like he has to put on an act to be around me or my family. I want the brother that has lightsaber duels in our backyard, even as adults, having Nerf wars as 2 grown-ass men. Most of the time, he cannot be himself. He has to be someone else. I just want to be one of those people in spaces where that's not the case. So yes, my brother is a 36-year-old man-child, but he is still my brother, and I cannot change that. And I don't want to. All of that aside, I did speak to my brother earlier this evening. I explained to him the situation. He said he would dress up to fit in, but would probably leave after the wedding ceremony. That's his prerogative. I told him he would only have to dress up for the ceremony, and then he can change afterwards. I did ask what I could do, and he said nothing. He knows that she would be happier if he was not present anyways. Which broke my heart, and is kind of true. I brought up Mum's church and how he goes to those without issue, and he told me it was because none of them really care. He said, sure, he runs into some people that give weird looks, but overall, everyone is warm and welcoming. At least he has that. If people are wondering, I did ask for clarification regarding the clothes. It's not about the feel, but what they represent, which brings on that feeling of not feeling wanted and a strong sense of discomfort, in which he proceeds to put on the act that will protect him from those feelings. He explained to me that being that way takes a lot out of him. He told me it would feel more like a work function or an obligation versus what it should be, a party and a moment to celebrate my big day. Lol, the way he finally explained it, wearing clothing for a certain purpose in mind, feels like he's trapped and isolated. My greatest fear is that he's not going to feel welcome in our home anymore, but we'll cross that bridge if it comes to it. I guess in his perfect world, people would just be okay with how people are no matter what, but that's not reality. As many have said, the wedding is not about me. It is all about my future wife. It is her moment to shine, so I will let her shine. It's late, but I wanted to make the update before I went to bed, and everything was fresh in my mind. And even with it fresh, it's still kind of a mess. I hope it makes sense overall. I think, taking into regard the update, I'll go with a no assholes here, even though I was on the side of you're the asshole for the original post. Your intentions were solid though, because you wanted him to feel safe and accepted. You didn't want him to feel forced to perform again. Completely understand that. But, it's messy. A wedding isn't just someone's personal comfort zone. This is a big life event, and it's a shared event that comes with expectations. And I don't think your partner is wrong for wanting everyone to stick to a dress code on something that should be a formal day. If that is the expectation that is set, she's not wrong for being upset about that, and for wanting him to conform as well. This is your relationship, this is your marriage, this is your wedding. When it comes to big decisions like this, you don't get to override things unilaterally. Even though it's your only ask, it doesn't override the fact that this is a 2 yes, 1 no situation. His clothing would affect the tone of the whole event. She does get a say in that. In the end, with the update here, the compromise is the right move. He gets to dress up for the ceremony, and then he leaves. I don't think he is going to change and stay. It doesn't sound like he wants to be around that environment. I think this is great. I think it respects both sides. And I think everyone wins in the end. And I guess it touches on a deeper topic here that your brother, it's not about the clothes. Your brother already just feels unwelcome. And I do hope that he goes and gets help. He gets a diagnosis. He goes to therapy and gets help processing all of this. Because I don't know if he can do it alone, and I don't know if there's much you can do to change him feeling unwelcome. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be split. You need to protect your relationship with him, but you can't ignore your partner's place in this problem either. And in saying that, you can't prioritize him over your partner. So it's a difficult one, but, I think you're handling this well, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward. I think you'll be able to solve this. Our next post is by user Born Safe, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for asking my husband why he was letting a new neighbor believe that our nanny was his wife? This is an English second language post, by the way. I, 28 female, gave birth to my husband's, 28 male, baby in January. We have a nanny, 36 female. We live in a nice suburban community. A new neighbor, female, moved in. She seems friendly, and she seemed like she just wanted to get to know everyone. Last Saturday, the new neighbor rang our doorbell. She did the reverse of the community bringing things to the new neighbor. She was bringing things to her closest neighbors, and this was our turn. My husband answered the door, and our nanny was in the neighbor's view. I don't blame the neighbor one bit for her confusion. A white man with a wedding ring and a Japanese woman with a wedding ring who was holding a half-white, half-Japanese baby. What else was the neighbor supposed to think? She introduced herself and was talking about how my husband and our nanny look like such a cute couple. They have such an adorable baby. The nanny wasn't saying anything. My husband said thank you. I came up to the neighbor's view and announced that I was the wife. I explained that this is our nanny. The neighbor looked embarrassed and she apologized. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. Later, I asked my husband why he was letting the neighbor believe that our nanny was his wife. He said that it's an unfair question and that he was obviously flustered. I told him it's the easiest thing to just say, "This is our nanny and my wife is in the kitchen." He said I'm making too much of this. I said maybe he wants people to think that he's married to someone who looks like our nanny. He started saying that my body had bounced back and that I was looking good. It reduced my annoyance for a few seconds, but then I told him that he needs to give me a good explanation of why he couldn't just say that she's the nanny. My husband said that he can't talk to me when I'm like this. Who is wrong? Am I the asshole? In the comments, Secret Ad says, I think he thought that it was like when a stranger mispronounces your name and you don't bother correcting them. Problem is, it's a neighbor that you will see repeatedly. I think he didn't make that connection until too late. I opened this thread specifically to admit that I have a coworker who's been mispronouncing my last name for a year, and I've stupidly let it go on so long that I don't know how to correct her at this point. I suspect the husband in this story has done the same thing here, and it made for an awkward moment. Is your husband regularly awkward? Sometimes it's just easier to say thanks than it is to explain a whole story. Look, I'm awkward. I would 100% do this and be in the same pickle the husband is in now with my wife. The part about the body bouncing back as a response to you saying he wants people to think he's married to someone else? What the fuck does that even mean? I think he was trying to call her attractive and sexy as a response to the perceived accusation that he doesn't find her sexy. I don't know about all that. I mean, it just comes off as really awkward and jarring. Because the way it's presented, it's like, what? Do you want people to think I'm married to someone with the body of our babysitter and not me? And he's like, no, babe, you've actually bounced back really well. Don't say that about yourself. I just don't feel like that's the correct response to what OP has said. I feel like instead the correct response is, sorry, I had a brain fart. I just didn't know what to say in the moment. I don't know why I said what I did. That was a mistake. I've learnt from it now. I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to upset you by doing that. That was not my intention, but I see how it came across that way. I really fucked up here and I'm so sorry about that. Thank you for correcting me. I'm embarrassed. Is that too much? Am I being too much? I feel like that's a realistic response. It also feels genuine. It's not making excuses. It's just saying, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. For me, that would be an acceptable apology that I would say, okay, I believe you, it's all good. But I don't know, you're welcome to check me in the comments and say, Marky, you're way off base, mate. I feel bad for your future wife. She's gonna be in hell, dealing with your deluded ass, or something like that, I don't know. And now, on to the update. I had listened about what people had to say about how confrontational I was. So I, 28 female, had asked my husband calmly, 28 male, why he had allowed a neighbor to think that our nanny was his wife. He promises he was caught off guard and he panicked internally. He said that the neighbor was so nice and friendly, he didn't want her to feel embarrassed. He then said he also didn't want us to get judged. I asked, judged about what? He said since our nanny was sweaty and looking domestic while we were dressed up and going to head out later. He said the optics make us look like bad parents. I asked why he's so worried about the optics all of a sudden. I asked if people had been criticizing us. He said nobody said anything directly, and there is other indirect stuff. He mentioned how he's gotten mild teasing at work, that our nanny and I look so much alike and have the same dialect, that people have been saying that the nanny is like a second wife to him, and that people who don't know us that well are judgmental about how the nanny looks. I mentioned that in our city, people would be judging us if I was a stay-at-home mum while you were the sole provider. I said other things to that, but I can't remember what I said. He asks if I think he's a bad father and or a bad husband. I said no and told him to not let nonsense get in his head. I'm not sure what else to add, so you can ask questions in the comments if you want to know more. In the comments, Ill Relationship says, I would say your husband should not be around such disrespectful people. If those are what they say about him from barely knowing him, then he needs to leave those people alone. You don't get embarrassed when mean girls act mean, you feel pity for them. Maybe even go to HR and tell them how those comments are completely inappropriate for a work environment. I'm lost as to why he thought saying the woman who looked like she'd been tending house and child all day was his wife when he was dressed to go out with another woman, would be a good thing. Yeah, my wife is over there. Don't mind us. Me and the nanny are going out for the evening. Someone make that make sense. Edit, just to be clear, I'm lost on how the optics made better sense. Someone else pointed out that while I thought the neighbor believed that these were everyone's roles for a longer period, it likely was just those 5 minutes at the door, so my confusion just dragged out longer. Well, speaking as a middle-class person, who knows exactly no one who has a nanny, but one person who is a nanny, I would never assume anyone I was looking at in a house full of people I'm just meeting was a nanny. That would totally be the last thought that occurred to me, just not in my scope of experience. Wife, sister, auntie, best friend. But nanny? Nope. Also, you have a lot of hindsight that he didn't have at the time. I don't get that either. Why would he think he'd look better as a parent if he looked all fancy, while the nanny, perceived as the wife, was all sweaty and domestic? That would just make him look like he was offloading the brunt of the work to his wife. Yeah, herein lies the problem with the brain fart, freaking out at the time, not being able to think straight and being like, whoa, actually, hold on, here's my wife right here. Haha, sorry about that, I'm just really awkward. It just didn't work out that way. He froze, and he didn't want to embarrass the new neighbor. I don't know why that would be embarrassing, but hey, I just don't see what being like, oh, no, that's the nanny. Here's my wife. How is that going to embarrass the neighbor? Explain it. And these people at work, making him feel bad about the optics and everything. What is that all about? We have firmly established online that one of the best things you can do for your relationship is hiring someone else to take over the workload that you and your partner cannot deal with. This is one of the best things that they could do for themselves, to have a nanny so that they can still have time to go decompress outside of the house. I guess he just hasn't thought of it that way, or maybe he has, but these people teasing him at work have fucked with his mind. Hopefully, he carries this lesson forward that he should just correct things in the moment next time. It's just a clumsy interaction that got amplified. I doubt there's anything deeper to look into here. No assholes here. Our next post is by user SarcasticPenguin18, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for yelling at my son's preschool director? For some background, I, 22 female, am mixed and look African American, but my two sons, 3 male and 10 months old male, both have their dad's coloring. My youngest even having blue eyes and blonde hair. My partner, who I'll call Levi, 24 male, is not my kid's dad, but is also white and typically does preschool drop-off with him or their paternal aunt, who looks like my son's dad with blonde hair and blue eyes, doing pickup. And one of them usually has my youngest with them, as he's not able to attend daycare. So yesterday was my son's re-enrollment for next year preschool, and I went in for the meeting and paperwork with Levi and my youngest son. I filled out the paperwork while Levi held the baby until the director came out and said that I couldn't fill the paperwork out and that it had to be a legal parent. I said I was the legal parent, and she said that I knew what she meant and that either Levi would have to do it or the real mum would have to come in to fill it out, as I was just the stepmom. I was trying to remain calm and said that I was their biological mum and their only legal parent. She laughed and said that was impossible, and she met their real mum multiple times. I lost it and yelled at her that she met their aunt, and that just because they are white doesn't mean that I didn't birth them or that they aren't mine. She looked taken aback, but instead of apologizing, she doubled down, saying she knows genetics and it was impossible. At that point, I called her a racist, along with a few other colourful names, and asked for them to get my son 3 male, as I'm pulling him out of class, and we wouldn't be re-enrolling him for next year. She said that I'd need to show my ID to confirm that I was on the pickup list, which I did. And when she looked at the list, that I know I'm listed as mum on, she then turned and said, "Oh," and went to her office. The secretary then called my son's room and had him pulled out. No apologies or anything. We left, and I'm now finding a new preschool for next year. But Levi says that I didn't need to scream at her as she was just doing her job. And she's always been nice, but I felt like she was being racist and disrespectful. So am I the asshole? In the comments, quote, "But Levi says I didn't need to scream at her as she's just doing her job." Not the asshole. Doing her job would be checking your ID to make sure that you're on the list as the mother. Unfortunately, Levi doesn't experience discrimination because he's white and doesn't understand what it's like. Agreed. If she had never met you and wanted to make sure that you were their mother for that reason, she could ask for your ID or just your name, which it doesn't sound like she did. Just saying, "No, genetics," is just plain ignorant. Assuming their aunt was the mum, again, might be a reasonable assumption at first, but when corrected, accept that. Not the asshole. This woman was also apparently actively pushing for someone who was not a legal parent to fill out the paperwork without checking any ID. She was flagrantly failing to do her job. And she said and did all of this in the presence of the man that she acknowledged as their biological father. All she had to do was ask him instead of claiming to be a geneticist. Edited to correct myself, not the bio dad, but believed to be by the school director. He could and should have spoken up. Sounds like your partner also sucks. A white person saying someone isn't racist because they've always been nice to me? Okay. He should have had your back and been just as mad for you. Many men often do this. They are treated well by other men and women, and then when their wife or daughter get treated badly by that same individual, they don't believe it. Hell, at any point he also could have backed her up and said, "Yeah, she's the bio mum. I'm not the dad. And that was indeed my sister, not their mother," but he didn't. OP, this dude is not a good partner. And now, on to the update. First, I would like to say thank you for all the support and helpful advice. I did sit down with Levi, and we had a discussion about why that was racist and how I felt. He understood, and we both apologized for our actions. He said he was more upset about me yelling and making a scene around children, and at the time, so focused on my infant that he didn't actually pay attention to all she said until I started yelling. After a calm conversation and me explaining everything she did, he is furious as well, but he doesn't want me filing a complaint or blasting them on social media, as it could have negative effects on me, especially where we live. He, however, will be filing a complaint for me and has already posted on all of their accounts, including Yelp. So hopefully she gets removed from her position. Also, to clear up some confusion I see, me and Levi have only been actually together for a few months, and is not either of my boys' biological father. However, we've been friends for over 10 years, and he was my late husband and son's biological father's best friend. Levi is very sensitive to screaming and loud noises due to PTSD, which caused his reaction. I guess that is some context that was left out, that he has PTSD around loud noises, and that caused him to not focus on what you were saying and what was being said to you. I can give him a pass for that in the moment. If he was having a panic attack or something, he was suffering from his PTSD in that moment, I get it. But now, after the fact, in this update, when he has all the information available to him and he's like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't actually do anything like filing a complaint or blasting them on social media. Let's just let me do the complaint and I'll post on their Yelp. That'll do something." I don't think it will, Levi. I think there needs to be more consequences than what you have in mind. 'Cause what the fuck? She wasn't doing her job. She's just making huge assumptions and doubling down when you corrected her. That screamed racism to me. That was a crock of shit. And your reaction didn't come out of nowhere. You weren't loud for no reason. It came after she dismissed you multiple times and then refused to do her job. I think anyone would snap in that moment. I'd be going as high up the chain as you could to whoever works above her and filing some serious shit against her for that and saying like, we need an outcome for this one. This is bullshit. But hey, not the asshole OP. I think you handled this well. Our next post is by user opening vehicle 813, and it's titled, Would I be the asshole for telling my mother her ticket has been given away? I, male 33, and my mother, female 54, grew up loving reading and books and all things literature. Recently, there's been an event that crossed my Facebook of a library event that will be going on this weekend. I asked my mum on Monday if she had plans for the weekend. She said no, and I asked if she would like to come. It's got all the things that we both love: wine, books, and raffles. Her response was, I will talk to your father. Now, I don't know what my dad has to do with this. He isn't coming. I took him to see Project Hail Mary when it first came out, and he answered me at 8:30 p.m., an hour after me asking, with an enthusiastic yes. We had a great time at the movies. It is now Wednesday, and she still hasn't gotten back to me. If she had a busy and demanding job, I'd understand that she forgot or didn't have a moment yet, but she's unemployed. Or rather, she's trying to start her own business in her basement after getting let go from her last job. It is still very bare bones at the moment, as it is new. I feel like my time has been disrespected, and I feel like I have no priority in her life. She would have told my younger brother yes in a heartbeat to go golfing with him on a weekend if he had asked. How am I so sure? Because she has in the past. So would I be the asshole if she messages me tomorrow or Friday, regardless of if she says yes or no, and tell her that her ticket has been given away? In the comments, Starry Cacti says, she probably talked about tentative plans with him this weekend and doesn't want to double book. It sounds like you're looking for hurt feelings. Why not just follow up and just say that I need to know by X time? Golfing, especially in season and on a weekend, you have to move fast to reserve a tee time. Whereas from your description, I wouldn't have thought that you even need tickets necessarily to something like this, so maybe she doesn't know she needed to respond quickly. And your mum sounds like she has a busy life, so maybe it just slipped her mind. There's no need to assume the worst. Just set a deadline, and if she doesn't get back to you in time, say that you made other plans and you don't have a ticket for her. If you feel like she disrespected your time, the solution is to set firmer boundaries on your time. Yes, you would be the asshole. Is there a reason you can't call or text her to remind her that she hasn't answered? Does she know she needs a ticket, or does she think that it's just something you show up for? If you have someone else to go with, at least let her know that unless she replies by X time, you're giving it away. Just being mad she didn't jump at it immediately and deciding to punish her is some passive-aggressive shit. And now, onto the update. I'm the asshole. She called me right after I posted this and let me know she forgot to double-check with my dad and she would be doing that today and that she would most likely be by my place Saturday to pick me up. I feel like such a dick. I'm gonna get her a nice bottle of wine for Mother's Day in addition to her other gift. I'm an idiot asshole. Thank you all for responding. I was going to take all of your advice and call her, but yeah, I'm an asshole. Thanks, Reddit. Jumping the gun final boss. I mean, in a way, I respect OP for not seeing anything and not acting on her intentions. I feel like this is one of those things you just bounce off of a partner or you bounce off of a friend and be like, I'm really pissed off, but I don't want to act on my emotion right now because I feel like I'll fuck something up, but I'm really angry. I need you to ground me right now. Am I being irrational? And is that not what a forum like this is for if you don't have anyone else in your life that can do it? You just get a sounding board of people that are not emotionally invested in you or the situation, and they ground you. Yes, maybe in this instance it feels like an angry mob is yelling at you and no one wants to feel that way, but it did its job. It stopped OP from barraging her mum with texts and being like, you're a piece of shit. I have no priority in your life. You prefer my brother over me. You always have, and I hate you for it. I resent you for that. You can't even text straight away to be like, I'll come to this event. You hate me. I want nothing to do with you. I'm giving away your ticket. Because those are the vibes that I was getting from that post. And it's okay to, be angry, to be upset, to have all these feelings. But that's what we have other people there for. They will help ground you. It's okay to validate those things, but it's also okay to get a new perspective and be like, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm being an asshole. I'm sorry. I'll change. I'll do better. So, next time, you're going to send a quick follow-up text and say, hey, are you still good for Saturday? Instead of building this whole fucking narrative around it, okay, OP? I believe in you. Thanks for the update. Our next post is by user AmbitiousCrow44, and it's titled, Would I be the asshole here for going no contact with my brother after he took advantage of my wife's kindness for my surprise birthday dinner? I, 42 male, and my wife T, 37 female, have had a few very busy years. A few weeks before I turned 40, one of our kids was born at home unexpectedly, and he got really sick afterward. So my 40th basically didn't happen. I was totally fine with it. Fast forward to this year, yesterday, T wanted to make up for not having a 40th and planned a surprise birthday dinner at a really nice and expensive restaurant I love. She invited my entire family. Parents, siblings, and all the nephews and nieces. A few days before the dinner, my mum texted T and basically told her that she should clarify that she, T, is paying for everyone. Oh god, it's this acronym shit. Okay, I'm making up names. T is turnip, and H is gonna be Horatio. There's also an S further on. S is gonna be Sacramento. Turns out, my older brother Horatio, 48 male, was on the fence about coming because money is tight for him. He originally thought that it would just be him and his wife. The second that Turnip sent a kind text saying that she'd be covering the meal for everyone, Horatio immediately expanded his group from 2 to 6 people. He added his 3 adult children, one of their significant others, and his adult son's girlfriend without asking anyone. He just did it. Also, the night of the dinner, one of them decided not to come. He also didn't communicate this to Turnip. The day before the dinner, another sibling, Sacramento, 51 male, asked Horatio if he was looking forward to it. Horatio's response? Hell yeah, especially because we aren't paying. He openly admitted that he only brought a bunch of extra adults because it was free. He didn't care that he was taking advantage of my wife's generosity and our finances. To him, it was just a free night out. During the dinner, I had no idea that she was paying until she got the bill, and we went home. I had an absolutely wonderful time. On the way home, Turnip told me everything. The texts, the clarifying, the sudden shift, and then not asking if his son's girlfriend could come. This isn't the first time. For years, Horatio has been disrespectful towards me. He barely has any relationship with our kids. He'll RSVP to their birthdays and then not show up. His wife says that she's coming almost every time, but actually only appears when there's an expensive free meal involved. Must be a regular thing for him, but This was just the first time he directly used and disrespected my wife. After hearing all of this, I told my wife I'm done. I'm going no contact with Horatio. I don't want him in our lives anymore if this is how he behaves the moment he sees an opportunity to get something for free. So would I be the asshole here for finally drawing the line in the sand, cutting him off, and going no contact outside of holidays? Edit. For further clarification, the extra adults are my nephews, that he wasn't bringing if he had to pay. They weren't the issue. He also added a nephew's girlfriend without asking and made those comments. That's what burns me, and it's taking advantage of my wife. Further slights towards me were years prior, which included, but were not limited to, not inviting my family to a summer barbecue because someone else who isn't family was invited with their kids, and then inviting me the day of because that family backed out. I found out about this event from my dad, who was just as upset about me about the situation. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Edit 2. Also, during the dinner, there were 2 tables in the same private room, but they were separated by a fireplace that took up the middle of the room, making it so you'd have to go to the other table to talk and such. The table I wasn't sitting at that included Horatio and his family, never once did any of them get up to come over to our table, and yet I went to theirs several times to talk and enjoy their company. The more I analyze the dinner, the more I see how I am valued by them. The level of self-unawareness by them is astounding. In the comments, Big Tiger 123 says, "Not the arsehole. Sounds like you won't really have to do much to actually go no contact. Just stop inviting him to stuff since you know that he probably won't come anyway. There is no need to tell him anything about it, and if anyone asks, that's your line. He never comes to these things, so I thought that I'd save us both some time and stop inviting him. When he gets wind of this, he'll be mad because it makes him look bad. Don't take the bait. Just shrug and change the subject." Oh yeah, he never comes to these things unless there's a free expensive dinner involved. OP replies, "I should specify, she only comes to these things when there's a free meal, meaning his wife. He shows up for some things. This is a merit, see you next Tuesday." Oh my god. Replies, "Then make sure he knows that every time he's invited, he'll need to pay his own way and let the trash take itself out. Warn your parents about what has been happening and strongly suggest to them to ensure that their finances and estate are secure." OP replies, "I did this about 2 years ago due to other concerns. They added me as an executor of their will and made me their healthcare proxy a few years before that. You also need to tell your wife that you support her. That if anyone is pushing boundaries, she can say no and you will deal with it. Or whatever is needed, that she would not let something like that happen again. Get revenge before no contact." OP replies, "I did this first. I told her I appreciated her and that this was the final straw. Slights towards me, I can handle. But doing something like this to the mother of my children, to the woman I would love and kill for? It's unforgivable." Fangs McWolf replies, "You took advantage of my wife, brought people that weren't approved, and you didn't even wish me a happy birthday. I'm glad that you were adopted because it means that we don't share the same DNA. Damn! Say it as though it's true and you thought he already knew. Guaranteed to fuck with his mind." In another comment, OP says, "I'm overwhelmed by the responses and the support. Thank you all for the comments and the input. I'll update you all in the coming weeks when I've decided what to do." And what would you know, we have the update. So a lot has happened since my original post. I've had numerous discussions with my wife, my older brother, Sacramento, and my dad and my mum. There were a lot of deep conversations about the subject, pros and cons, and some serious soul-searching. Horatio, 48, the subject of the last post, has done some really messed up things this past year. No-showing my oldest son's birthday and then calling me an hour late with some lame excuse, saying he and his wife were showing to my younger son's birthday and he shows up acting like melancholy Mary while his wife skipped out to go to a casino. Remember the money issues? On a recent holiday, my pregnant wife was sitting down with my kids and he pulled her up and gave her a hug, which is very out of character for him. And my wife was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Mind you, he thinks he's God's gift to everyone around him. He showed up to my oldest son's basketball game when he was told when I wouldn't be there, to show up the next weekend, and that it was going to be my wife there. There were many years of different things. Every conversation is somehow geared back towards himself. Mind you, his track record is very short, and it's like he's always trying to compete with me. It's sad, to be honest. Not once in my career, changing specialties or anything I did, he never once checked in with me. While I did when he changed jobs after 20 plus years at the same place. He gets angry when called out, so you cannot have any constructive conversation with him. He chooses friends over blood, the previous discussed cookout incident. He has a better relationship with one of my friend's kids that I grew up with than mine. There is little to zero effort from them. I showed up to everything I was invited to before I had kids, and the only thing I didn't was because my family had COVID. Am I perfect? No. I have my faults, but I look back and even when I rented an in-law's basement apartment from him, I'd move in for a short time, 3 to 6 months, and each time he'd up the rent when he saw fit. Once because I had a girlfriend that would spend the night. No, she didn't shower or eat their food, of which I stopped staying with him in my off months of a winter rental and swallowed my pride and stayed with my parents for 3 months and bought a house soon thereafter. The conversation with my mother was the most enlightening, saying that he was the most self-unaware person. Mind you, she is his primary defender, but realizes how bad this is. She was sad about the state of his and my relationship, but she understood due to all the slights and issues I've had with him, and when they're brought up, he cannot handle talking about it if it's about him. Everything is an attack. No such thing as constructive criticism. Also, everyone else has contacted my wife or myself in one way or another and said thank you after the dinner. Not a single thing from that family. Not a word. Everyone is in agreement with my decision, which is low contact. My father has a condition, and I don't want to miss any time with him for the kids and myself, especially holidays. In the comments, Midwest Normal says, "Good to see that you've given this thought and not just acting out of emotion. May you and your wife enjoy your peace." Prudy Scarada says, "This feels like I wrote these posts under an alternate personality. My brother is the type where, if he had a jug of water, and even his best friend were the one on fire, he'd pour himself a tall glass before ever thinking to help put the flames out, just in case he got thirsty later. And my sister would probably dump the rest of the water." Rocketman69 says, "It sounds like he's after your wife." OP says, "I felt off about the situation, but I didn't witness it. He waited until I walked away, which pisses me off even more. He called me at work when he was walking into the basketball game. I told him straight up that I'm not there, and I told you this wasn't the week to go." Llama Mama replies, "My brothers, both older, had a combative relationship all their lives. I learned late in life one brother would try and steal girlfriends from the other brother and sleep with them, and then brag to the older brother. When we were teens and 20s, I'd wondered why oldest brother would date a girl a few times and then stop. It's something I'd wish I'd gone to the grave with them instead of being revealed by oldest brother's son after his funeral." Otherwise Chemist asks, "So you've not confronted him over his piss-taking bullshit or told him to pay you back?" OP replies, "There's no reason to. As I said in my post, regardless of what is said to him, he doesn't listen and gets defensive. I called him out with the oddity stuff around my wife. He just got weirder. She dislikes him and I trust her, so I have no worries about that. I don't want any money. It's the principle and the constant oddities and disrespect." Icy Translator replies, "Give it up. You ain't gonna get through to him. Live your life as happily as you can. Do not let him know when special events are coming up, such as birthdays, special dinners, games, nothing. Do not invite him to your house. You have tried hard. Move on." OP replies, "I should specify, low contact means holidays at my parents only. No invites to the kid stuff. No response to calls or texts."
Oh god, I didn't expect this one to be such a mess.
I want to know why OP feels like he needs to keep any contact open at all with his brother, when his brother is shown time and time again he's just a gigantic piece of shit that cannot be trusted and is not a good person. Like, what is it that is mentally anchoring OP to this man where he's like, no, I can't put boundaries up with me and him. I can't give it up and just cut contact with him. I can't even put him on very, very low contact and just not have him a part of my life anymore. Like, why? Why do you allow him to take up so much space in your mind, OP? At this point, you're just allowing him this access into your life when you should know better. You should know to cut him out of it. He provides nothing of value. He's not a good person. He has not earned a place in your life. I hope you come back in the future with another update and tell us that you've listened to the comments and you've all but cut him out of your life. I think that would be the best solution here because he sounds like a fucking terrible person. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.